Hi, you're here with Mary Guzman, CEO and founder of Crown Jewel Insurance. And today I wanted to talk about vendor risk. Lately in the news, we've heard so much about solar winds and all of the buzz that was around that. But interestingly, in the market, it seems like only about $90 million of losses are expected to be paid out, which is a big disconnect, I think, between what people expected and what they're experiencing so far. That's because the SolarWinds breach didn't result necessarily in the disclosure of a lot of personally identifiable information or something where there was a tangible requirement to notify people on the back end, and or necessarily the disclosure of corporate proprietary data. Interestingly enough, though, eCentire did a study in 2020 that showed that 44% of the companies they interviewed suffered a breach at the hands of a vendor in the year prior. And of those organizations, 81% of them were confident that their vendor governance program around privacy and information security was well-founded and intact. So there's clearly a disconnect between what people believe in the confidence of their vendor governance programs and what's really happening out there. In addition, of the 250 companies that suffered a breach at the hands of a vendor, 27% of them had a loss of business proprietary information. So not personally identifiable information where there's a regulatory requirement to respond, but potentially trade secrets and other things, which can be the subject for a different day. We do have a trade secret insurance policy out there as well. All of that said, in the brokerage world for my 30 plus years in dealing with large enterprise clients, and potentially being on the technology side dealing with very large vendors, one of the things that my clients really struggled with was marrying the two exposures between what the vendor can provide in the way of indemnity, insurance, and limitation of liability to their customers and what that enterprise customer wanted to require and needed from that vendor, because they might have access to millions of records, or they might suffer downtime as a result of their vendor being down, a cloud service provider, for example, in which case they needed to tie the contractual obligation with that vendor back to their exposure. The vendors in this space typically would carry somewhere between $20 and $40 million of insurance, which is not enough at the end of the day to cover them if they have a huge systemic risk, especially if they have 100 customers who suffer a loss from the same breach. So what we've done is created an insurance product that offers contract-specific tech E&O and cyber to the vendor, and only inures to the benefit of the enterprise. And we're using the enterprise's information security policies and procedures and coupling that with a cyber right assessment that looks from the outside in at the exposure for that particular vendor and tries to quantify it and put a dollar value around that exposure. It's the only contract-specific program in the market today, and it takes a lot of the frustration off the table in terms of the willingness to indemnify the enterprise for real consequential losses as a result of downtime, and or allows you to increase that limitation of liability to the point where it makes sense. It's not crazy, but it makes sense. For more on that, please visit us on social media and or visit our website, which is www.crownjewelinsurance.com. Thank you.